Hey everybody, Desert Gold here, and another exciting time in the desert. Went to the mailbox today, and guess what I got? That's it right there. That was my permission slip to bring this beauty on home. And while I was gonna wait for you guys, I couldn't hold off anymore. I mean, I've been waiting for this for 6 months. Can you believe it? 6 months. So I decided to look at my new Pride and Joy. Right now, as you can see, I've got the top cover off. I just took it off. This shows a really nice view of the short stroke piston system that LWRC uses in their weapons. Thing of beauty for me as far as I'm concerned. Easily accessed. A couple of screws and this cover comes right off. Man, how easy is that? Just going to go over quickly a few fine points of this upper. As you know, it's a melanite or nitrocarbonized barrel. It is cold steel hammered. It is almost, if you'll pardon the pun, bulletproof. The bolt carrier is nickel plated, making it basically a lube-free bolt carrier, and it's got the new advanced combat bolt in it, also nickel plated. And the way you can tell it's an advanced combat bolt, let's see if I can get this in the camera here. You see how the extractor comes back and it bells out right here, right there. If I'm getting this, where a regular extractor comes straight back, this one has the bell on the side here, bell on the side here. What this is it's a dual spring retention for the extractor as opposed to a regular bolt that has a single spring. The upper came with LWRC's charging handle. To be honest with you, I didn't know that it would come with this. So I went out and I actually purchased, while I've been waiting, I've been picking up odds and ends for this upper. I got a BCM gunfighter charging handle. So I'm going to try them both, see which one works the best as far as what's comfortable for me, and I'll go with that. The interesting story about this is I had intended, as you'll see in the rest of this video as I go back in time and show you the process that led to this. I had intended when I got to this point to actually go out and buy a LWRC 6.8 upper. But in the interim, I came across a sale, an auction that an individual had this upper for sale, and it has worked out really well for me because, first of all, the upper was hardly ever used. There's probably less than 50 to 100 rounds that's been through this barrel. It also came with a brand new, and I want to let you know, brand new and unused Surefire muzzle brake And you know how I like Surefire. This is actually going to work out really well because I'm going to have this 6.8 with this muzzle brake on it by Surefire. I've got my LWRC 556 with a Surefire muzzle brake, and I've got, as you saw in my all screwed up video on how to install a muzzle brake on my 308, also Surefire. So basically I've got the same Surefire muzzle brake, obviously different calibers, on all three rifles. Now, as you saw in my Osprey video, there is the potential, and I'm not sure yet because I'm going to check into it further, but you can use a larger suppressor on a smaller caliber. Now, the only holdup will be is if the diameter, outside diameter of these, and I haven't had a chance because I just got these all unpacked. If the outside diameters are different and they don't make adapters like the Osprey does to switch between calibers. You could buy the 308 can or suppressor, and if all of these on the outside, obviously the bore thread is going to be different, but the quick release outside, where you can just in a matter of seconds attach your suppressor, a Surefire suppressor, to this. If these are all identical, or if they have adapters, well, then I'll be home free. If not, well, who knows? I'll have to either talk the wife into spending more money on different suppressors, or pick the ones that I want the most to, shall we say, mess around with. So I've got a Magpul AFG I'm going to be putting on this. I also picked up during this wait period, and I'm going to be using a Streamlight DLR 1S or possibly a 2S, depending on whether I want to have the laser on it also. And then I also picked up this this switch, the remote switch for the light. So while I get all this assembled, I'm not going to bore you with the installation of another muzzle brake. You can refer to the 308 version, all screwed up, and check that out. I'm going to start putting this all together, and then what we'll do is a final assembly and check out what the end result. Oh, by the way, so obviously we're going to have to put an EOTech on this, right? What's yeah. Yeah, it's got to have an EOTech. So, got some parts to put together. While I'm working on this, I'll send you back in time to the beginning of the project, what steps I started with, and then we'll move to the end assembly, and then maybe some final comments on how to approach putting a Form 1 application together. I doubt that I'll get too much into that. There's some really nice videos already on filling out Form 1s and Form 4s for applications to get this Class 3 put together. So we are going to have a short-barreled rifle here pretty soon, and we'll take it out and we'll have some fun afterwards. This is Desert Gold. Talk to you soon. Hello everyone, Desert Gold here. I thought I'd do a short video on, well actually it's going to be in parts because this is going to take a while, but this will be the starting of a basic approach to putting a short-barreled rifle project together. I've decided to embark on a project to put a 6.8 short-barrel rifle together. So I thought I'd start off by, you know, showing you the beginning steps and how to get started, and then as we progress through the procedure, I'll keep you updated on the progress, and then hopefully we'll have a nice finished product. Basically what I did was I'm starting with this was originally one of these standard 5.56 upper or lower, I'm sorry. This is my slide fire on it, but basically this was a complete Bushmaster 5.56 lower. In order to get a short barrel rifle, you need to fill out what they call a Form 1, which is basically registering your rifle and getting a tax stamp for that rifle. In order to do that, first we need to get the lower engraved with if you're doing it personally, your name, address, or if you're like a lot of people using a trust, the name of the trust and the city and state need to be engraved on the lower. Depending on where you have this engraving, with respect to the company I'm using for my engraving, I'm using Orion Arms engraving, will determine how far or how completely you need to disassemble your lower receiver. If you choose to put the engraving on the front of the mag well, you can leave the lower receiver pretty much intact. Any other position, like the right or left side, they require the receiver to be completely disassembled. And that's why I have my little bag of parts there from waiting for when it gets back we can reassemble it. Also, what I thought I would do is I'm going to have this also engraved on it, since it's the Muzzle of a Spartan. I think it'll look sharp on the mag well. So basically the starting part is your trust papers. You file for the way I went anyway was a revocable trust, and that way you bypass having to have your forms signed by the local sheriff's department or the sheriff's deputy sheriff. With a trust, you don't need to go through the fingerprinting and having the sheriff sign it. You just send it directly to the ATF. So I'm going to be doing that procedure. I have my trust papers here. Printing out my Form 1,
and I'm gonna ship this off to Orion to have it engraved. And as we progress, when I get it back, we'll start the next sequence. This is going to take some time. It's going to be kind of a quasi, what I'm going to call time lapse. Obviously, the major wait time is once I get this back from engraving. I send the form out to the ATF, the Form 1, and there's usually a minimum of 3 months to get that tax stamp back. But once it's back, I will order the upper. The upper I've decided to go with is the LWRC Personal Defense, or 8.5-inch upper. I think it's an awesome upper. I like LWRC. I like their workmanship, the cold hammered barrel, the nitrocarbonized treatments. Everything is just top notch with them, so I figure I can't go wrong with that as my upper. Basically, I've got a Timney trigger that I had in this that will go back in it, so I think it'll mate up really well with that LWRC. Anyway, next step, waiting for it to get back from engraving. I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll go from there, the ATF, and then the final build. Hope to make this interesting and somewhat informative. Talk to you soon.
Hey everyone, Desert Gold here. Kind of an exciting time. I got my lower back from Orion engraving. Second phase of my short-barreled rifle project. The first phase being complete disassembly of my lower, shipping it off to them, having them put the required ATF markings on the lower, and then of course I added my little addition here for personal engraving. I put the, I don't know if I can get this light right, but put the Spartan logo on there with the Muzzle notation. I thought it was cool. I wish the light was better, you could really see it. Pretty excited about this. As you can see, it's been quite the battle. Got all my little Brownells empty bags, putting things back together. Started off as a Bushmaster lower. Put in a Timney trigger, competition trigger. Put in a single point attachment. Got the tactical buffer tube with a Wolf extra power spring, buffer spring. Starting to come together, and I'll keep you updated as we progress here. Alright everybody, Desert Gold here, and as promised, there is the finished product. And I have to say, I'm quite proud of the outcome. After 6 months, it's been a long journey, but as you can see, I think it's well worth it. Just to recap, this is the 6.8 SPC by LWRC, the PSD 8-inch upper. I have my Bushmaster registered lower that you saw in previous video segments where I sent it out, had the required ATF identification put on, and then had my little addition there, the Muzzle logo. So also added Magpul enhanced trigger guard. Got a single point attachment, which I subsequently added a Vickers Blue Force single point sling, the padded one. I also put on a Tri-Glide for quick detach attach on single to double point attachments. As you can see, I've got my Surefire on. I'm interested to see how the Surefire works with the short piston system in the LWRC. For those of you who aren't aware of the differences between a 5.56, which this upper does come in a 5.56 caliber, I chose to go with the larger caliber 6.8. This is your standard 5.56 round. 55 grain. Full metal jacket. This is a 6.8. As you can see, it's a little beefier. Case. Wider case, more powder. Charge. 115 grain on this one. 115 grain Barnes bullet. So hopefully, as far as the other additions I mentioned, there's my Streamlight TLR 1S. I mounted the pressure switch right behind it. Easy access when holding it with the Magpul AFG on there. You can see I got the muzzle brake properly timed and it is installed. Got the starting off with the gunfighter charging handle in the upper this to start with. I think everything turned out rather nice, came together really well. If it shoots as nicely as it looks, I'll be a happy camper. One thing I forgot to mention, the one mistake I did make was when I got my ATF letter in the mail, the very first thing I should have done, and what everybody should do when they first get it, is make a photocopy of it. Then you take your original and file it in a safe place with the rest of your important documents, and put the copy in your range bag and keep it with you at all times when you have one of these type of weapons in your possession, whether it be a silencer or SBR, obviously a select fire weapon. You're going to need to be able to present proof that you have complied with all federal laws at all times. Make sure that that happens. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get out on the range and see how this all turns out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Come and get